Welcome to the JoContractor Show, a podcast created by three regular Joes. The JoContractor Show is a place where trade professionals, business owners, and homeowners looking for solid advice and amusement can hear stories of great success and great failure in the turbulent and unpredictable world of construction. On the JoContractor Show, we dig deep into the realm of remodeling and construction. We chat with construction trade professionals, business owners, and homeowners alike. We support local independent contractors and those who put their trust in the hands of these capable and hardworking business owners and tradespeople. We discuss construction and home maintenance from multiple angles, and we do it with compassion, purpose, and humor. Listen as Lori, Merrick, and Sam, along with a wide variety of guests, explore topics related to construction, home ownership, small business creation, and more. A quick reminder, don't forget to send your questions to questions@JoContractorShow.com. And after you've done that, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe, or talk about us tomorrow morning at the local coffee shop. We appreciate feedback and critique, and it lets us know that you're out there and that you care.
Hello, awesome fans of the JoContractor Show. I have a quick announcement for you before we begin the show today. We have a weekly newsletter that we would love for you to sign up for at JoContractor.com. We give you highlights from the show, news about upcoming events, tips and tricks, and more. You can also find 2 new JoContractor groups on Facebook, one for trade pros and one for homeowners. All right, that's enough. Enjoy the show. All right. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi, you too.
Good to see you.
Hi.
I feel like I've seen more of you lately than usual.
Just today.
Yeah.
Just today, yeah.
But otherwise, we didn't see each other for about 3 weeks there.
He and I have been, because you were out of town, so like we can't spread it around.
You're closeted about getting together, I guess.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm okay with it. It's just, there's nothing sneaky about it. We missed you.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to hear.
We were trying not to put too much burden on you while you were on your trip.
All right, I was taking it personally for a second.
Yeah. Well, and Merrick was like, what if we ask her to get on a call or something? I'm like, Italy. You don't go to Italy and get on a call with us idiots here in Minnesota.
I did say that.
Yeah. It's like, no, leave her be.
Hilarious.
Let her do her thing.
That makes me even feel better, Merrick.
Yeah. Oh, she just wants to be loved. Well, anyway, Lori and Merrick, how are things going?
Good.
Great. Yeah.
We're back at it. Glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's really good to be back. Good to leave, good to be back.
Had a meeting with the investor potential people today. That was weird.
It was weird and fun.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, it's exciting. JoContractor is moving along. So, thanks for listening to the show. And we're continuing our work on the digital technical side of things. We'll have a product out to you eventually. So thanks for your patience and enjoying the show. We've got 9,000 plus, like almost 9,500, I think it was, subscribers at this point. So please subscribe to the show. No, it doesn't cost any money, Mom. Honestly, push the button. It's fine, Ma. Subscribe.
And I've been working on our social media stuff a little bit. We have a group for homeowners and a group for trade professionals. So find us on Facebook, join the groups.
They're going to be vastly different content between the two.
Right.
We talked about that. And you got your newsletter. It's a lot right now, but it's all good stuff. And we're getting more efficient and better at what we do, and we'll just get good information to you. So.
And of course, good information. It's always good from us.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
We are pretty reliable for good information. No, I mean, I agree with you. I'm wholeheartedly. It may not sound like it, but that's the sarcastic Minnesotan side of me, where people are like, "God, is he being serious right now or not?" Like, no, that was me enthusiastically agreeing with you. Good information comes from this show, and all the sources, the JoContractor sources.
Yep.
So
right?
We have a guest.
Oh, do we have to do that part? I'm just kidding. I invited her. That's not nice. Melanie Zaelich, and I got it right because I spelled it totally phonetically on the page here. Was that good?
That was perfect.
Yeah. And your company is Happy Place Interiors, which makes you what?
I am an interior design and color consultant.
Okay.
So I call myself a home stylist. I'll call myself an interior designer. but I operate vastly different than conventional designers.
Okay.
How so?
So,
Yeah, I mean, it did lead to that question, didn't it?
that was an
Let's
easy one.
jump right into it here.
Well, we could just let her slide on it and be like, okay, cool.
That'd be very Minnesotan. Okay.
So conventionally, interior designers, meet with a couple or a person, and let's just pick the living room. And they present an entire design for your living room, including your furniture, your maybe new carpeting, wall colors, your drapery, and they give you option A and they give you option B. And the happy homeowner will choose A or choose B, and that designer curates everything and installs it, and the living room is done. Builders will hire interior designers to, if they're building a spec home or a parade home, to pick all the finishes, to pick all the tile, the flooring, the fixtures, present it, and pull it together. So that's not what I do. So what I do is I primarily work with homeowners that want to be a part of the process, lots of DIYers, lots of young couples or young people buying their first house and I don't know what to do.
Like, how do you even start?
Where do you start? I work with a lot of maybe these people, they're in their 40s, they have little kids, and they're like, we're adults. Like, we don't need
We don't have adult colors in here
yeah,
anymore.
and we don't need our college furniture anymore, but they have no idea where to start. What size of a couch fits in my living room? Or especially with Minneapolis or St. Paul houses, these older ones that aren't built the way people live today. Like, how do I best use this space?
I have
Right.
that problem at my house.
Yep.
Which one?
1930s, the one I just bought, where it's like, how do you even put a couch in here? It's like,
Oh, I meant which problem? Do you have
the couch.
The couch.
the couch, the colors? You find yourself alone in your home now. You're
Right.
And you're designing it yourself or decorating it yourself, and that's something I'll go into here in a minute. But yeah, does that sound like a service that would appeal to you? Stuff like that, like getting some help with that?
I mean, I think it would if I hadn't spent so much time in so many different spaces over the years, I kind of had my own vision. And I had a designer, my designer that did my floor plan for my basement drew in a little, I was like, draw a love seat in here. She drew it in there. I'm like, okay, I guess that could.
And that I can do. Space planning, I do a lot is
Okay, so space planning, I think, is pretty darn important in the construction world.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So is choosing colors. So is fabric and all the rest of these things, and tile. I love doing tile. I think that one thing. And did we have a designer? There's this thing in the design world. It's similar to what happens with the word contractor. A carpenter is not necessarily a contractor, right?
Correct.
A contractor hires other people to do work for people who have hired them. Mm-hmm. A carpenter gets hired to do carpentry, but everyone refers to both of those persons as contractors. I often hear this. Sure. So designers, there's a difference between sort of the design of a building, where a designer might draw up plans for you that you can then take in and get approved to get your building. So there's architect, there's also a designer that can do that, or draftspeople.
Yep.
And you're not in that world. You're in the true space design and.
Yeah, I'm not the person that would draw plans to bring to a builder.
Okay.
But I am the person. So the people that I work with, they want to manage their own projects. They want choices in the flooring. They want to pick a lot. They just don't want to make bad decisions.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I prevent people from making bad decisions.
You know how many people we've seen that weren't prevented from making bad decisions?
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
I am sure.
Yeah.
So I can do rudimentary space planning. I have furniture templates. We get in there and we lay it all out, kind of in in real space, I can draw it up. But I wouldn't say that my drawings are buildable drawings.
They aren't
not
architectural drawings.
No, they're not like in CAD or Revit or any of those programs.
Yeah.
But I can work with the contractors that are going to be doing that work. But typically, I am kind of more the high-level person to be like, and I don't do a lot of remodeling. Like remodeling projects, I will I'll ask more questions about exactly how much hand-holding the client wants or how much of my time that they want, but I do more of like revamping spaces, like, you know, ripping out tile and putting in new flooring. Well, what's that new flooring?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of space planning in small city homes as well as gigantic suburban homes. People move in and have these gigantic living. How do I buy a couch? So
How do I fill this space?
how do I fill the space? How do I make it not look like every other house on my block? How
So-
do I add character to this?
Right. Would it be fair to say, like, instead of on the remodel side, more like a makeover sort of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Like I just want to change some things and
Yep.
make the space
like
different.
a revamp or elevate your look a little bit. And like now you're an adult and you want to look like an adult versus, you know, from the, from college or something
So
like
are
that.
you are probably then sending them in directions for quality products or better products than they might find or have the time to research?
Yeah, and there's so much information out there right now as far as visual information, like Pinterest and HGTV, and there's just so much out there that people get confused between what they actually like, what's trending, what works with their house. I mean, people are just, a little confused, and they just want to do what they like and what works well for their home. And I can kind of put that together.
I think we've all seen that. Like, there's too many choices and
Too many choices.
not enough direction. And
So I'll meet with somebody, I'll just use the living room for example again, and well, this was my client yesterday. She has a huge living room, and she had this tiny little sofa and a tiny little chair and a tiny little ottoman, all left over from their previous home. And we moved all of that out, and I put down my furniture templates, and I kind of put everything together, and I said, well, your husband would have to move the TV off this wall because this is the wrong wall for the TV, and this is why it would have to go on this wall. And they had a corner fireplace, which is common in some of these newer homes. And so I rearranged the furniture using my templates, and I verbally painted a picture of what her room could look like. And I made sure that she could see it, and then I measured out my templates, and I'm like, your sectional it would be this size. This is kind of your style that I would look for. This is a potential color. I suggested a navy blue sectional for her because of the color schemes that she had going on. And then we started going into a little bit more detail as far as, well, what do you put on the wall behind the sofa? What about lighting? What kind of lamps?
Right.
Like all that type of information. And then it turns into, well, they never put a backsplash in their kitchen. Well, let's talk about a backsplash. What's a good option for a backsplash? Should it be this type of tile or that type of tile? What's trendy versus what's classic and has some longevity? That type of thing. Or people remodeling older houses, they're concerned about putting in certain types of tile because what they like and what's current versus what's true to the house. I mean,
Yeah,
lots
that's
of
hard.
stuff.
That's hard because I look at something, I'm like, oh, I like that, and then I'm like, well, that does not fit in my house, though.
Right.
And for me, I don't have a wife looking over my shoulder to be like, that does not go.
Yeah,
in the
because
house.
we're really good at that.
That was, I don't know.
Like I'm thinking I need Melanie's services myself.
yeah, well, and I think, like, as you're talking about all this stuff, it's sort of, I think, an afterthought kind of in the remodel construction world. Like, we don't deal with this part of it very much.
I don't like
at all.
it.
No, No, you're making Lori very uncomfortable. She hates this show.
I'm intrigued by it, though.
I am too, because it's a different aspect of it, and I do think if we're being fair, prior to us doing some of our construction work, it probably would be good to have some of these things thought of.
For sure.
Yeah, because there's times that we do something and we'll say, oh, they'll have their TV over here, and we'll put a new window in over here or something, and then by the end of what we've done, you look at the room and you're like, shit, where would you even sit? Or
yeah, not only that is you'll do a project, and then you come to take pictures, and you're like, "Oh my God, it looks like shit now." It was great when I left it.
Yeah.
Right. Why'd they do this?
Or they painted
empty.
themselves, and they've chosen, just these weird colors, and done a shitty job painting.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, one of my carpenters said, "Why do you let homeowners paint?" And I'm like, I don't know.
I didn't let them.
Because 1 in 20 does a great job.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I guess ultimately they could do whatever they wanted, but I would caution against that. It'd be like, look, you're putting, thousands of dollars into this space. Just let us paint
Well, especially you come from the painting side of things. I felt the same way too. I'm like, you're going to paint on my construction project when I started out as a painting business, and I'll get it done in a day, and you're going to spend a week doing it, and it's going to look like crap.
What I said to my carpenter when he said this, I'm like, I do the estimating, and we got to get jobs. If they want to do the painting, they can do the painting. Yeah. If it lowers it enough for them to do the job, that $1,000 or whatever minimal cost that it was.
Right.
Can you explain the templates? Are those like...
Yeah, that's
is that like actually in the space, or is that on a piece of paper or a computer or
tape? It's my multi-million-dollar idea that is just sitting in my car. No, it's basically I just bought a big roll of black 36-inch wide paper, and I cut them to all common furniture sizes. So I have...
Oh, you're talking like life-size templates.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad I asked.
I am too, because I was envisioning this as
paper.
a digital thing.
No digital, because...
I saw tape.
Yeah, that gets pretty... I do that for like shelving units and stuff. But
Sure.
I have, common size sofas and chairs and coffee tables and dining room tables, and I have them folded like on the foot or on the 6 inches, so I can like just unfold, and then I can piece together common size sectionals and things like that, so we can get like a real life idea of how that actually fits in the space. So that's what I do. I try and, depending on the situation, if it is like a remodel or starting from scratch, I bring those out. Sometimes I'll just pull furniture from other places in their home so they can kind of get the 3D version of that.
I was thinking inflatables, but
I would love to figure that out.
Gee, really?
no, really,
That's ridiculous.
Here's 16 inflatable couches that I take around in my back of my car.
I would love that.
Yeah.
And I've thought of that. But I'm like, how do I inflate it so fast?
Yeah, right.
I mean, like, I'd be blue in the face, or you'd have to have those silly pumps. Like,
No, you can't.
once I figure that out, I'm
Then
onto
you got
that.
to carry a big air compressor. You're going to need a big truck.
It's the opposite end of the vacuum. You just use the shop vac. It's the
there you
it's
go.
the other end of it. It blows it up in no time. High volume, low pressure.
Still one more thing.
No, it is. Yeah, totally. Plus, that's just silliness. But
So I have a question. So if you, just my one and only question, I promise. No, I'm just.
and then she's out.
Yeah, I'm out of here. So when you go to a client's house, what if a prospective, how do they find you? A. B, are you paid the minute you go in the door? Or do you have to get to know them first, and then you have a free consult, or how does that work? So I know a lot of our listeners would probably like to know how
Yeah,
that
great
works.
question.
Good solid question.
I work on a consultation basis. My consults are all flat rate. They are currently for 2 hours, $275. That may go up at some point, depending on whoever and whenever they're listening to this.
The more wildly popular you become, the higher the rates go, right?
Yeah.
That's the way life works.
Most people don't have the templates, so...
Yeah, the templates are.
That is
I got
pretty cool.
I've got lots of tricks of my trade. I got lots of cool tools. So the consults are $275 for a 2 hour consult, but there are additional type of consultations too. I think most people probably find me through my website. I would say I just started asking people how they've learned about me. I would say about 70% of people are from my website, 30% are probably referrals. I don't know, I'm just guessing. And you can book an appointment right online. You can pay in advance if you want. Otherwise, you pay me when we're done. Either way, whatever works best for the person. And it's pretty slick. Once an appointment is booked, and I have the person will schedule themselves, so I don't do any of the scheduling.
Yep,
which
modern touchless stuff. I love it. Yep.
Best business decision I ever made.
Totally.
Yep.
But once the appointment is scheduled, they'll be prompted to fill out a questionnaire. And it probably takes, depending on how much thought you put into it, anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. But it asks everything from what specifically are you looking for out of our meeting? Like, what do you love about your house? What do you dislike about your house? What kind of colors do you like? What kind of vibe do you want your house to have? Like, it's pretty detailed. And then I also have people send me pictures of their house, of the kind of the main rooms.
Sure.
And then I have people send me like their inspirational pictures, because I want to get inside people's head of, okay, this is what their house is now. And I want to know what I'm walking into, because I want to be fully prepared. Because for that 2 hours, you're getting like on the spot ideas, recommendations. Like, I'll go there already with backsplash ideas and colors. Like, I start.
So you put time into it before you go. So your clock is ticking earlier even.
Yeah. Yep. So by the time I get there, I pretty much have figured out what I'm going to say, what I'm going to recommend. Things can change. There's rooms that I see then that weren't, that things come up, or the spouse enters the picture who hadn't filled out the form. That happens.
Oh, spousal.
Yeah,
spousal relations are tough in the service industry like that in people's homes. But
then I also have an idea of kind of the styles that they gravitate towards. And so then that I can be like, okay, well, this is where their house is at. This is the type of architecture of their house. This is kind of where they want to be. And I can kind of tell if they're kind of gravitating to what's trendy versus what they really like. So I've kind of layered my the questionnaire to dig pretty deep into what a lot of people think is uncomfortable, in the sense of they've never thought of this stuff before.
yeah.
Most people have never thought, the questions that I'm asking, people have never thought of before, and they don't know. So it can be hard for them to fill it out. But then they get invested and they start kind of learning, well, what do I like? What do I want? And that is a big hurdle, because I'm not the designer that comes in and says, this is what your living room should look like.
So I guess that's an important distinction to make. Sorry to cut you off, but I want to get in on that part of it a little bit. So, because I don't know that much about interior designers. So what you're saying is many of them will come in and sort of tell you what their vision is of how your house should look, versus you're kind of saying, here, I'm going to help guide you to how your vision.
Yep, exactly. Joanna Gaines, we all know her, right? So she's a designer, and she has the look.
TV gal, right?
Yep.
I only know the name. I'm really
Home
bad
at
TV.
Target, HGTV, the
Yeah.
Fixer Upper. Like,
Yep.
she created this whole farmhouse. She really kick-started the whole farmhouse look. That was her. Oh, wow. But people hire a lot of designers or big design firms based on the style that they have. Like, maybe some designers are known for wild leopard print and things like that, and bold colors, and that's what you think you want, so you hire them to do that for you. And that's not what I do. I help people figure out what they like, and then guide them to achieving that.
When you're doing
I
it,
like that.
do you guide them toward that? So you might not even like it, right? Because a lot of designers, what you're saying is, are taking them down their road, right? So what do you do when you don't? When you're like, okay, well, this is what I'm seeing, and and understanding in their head, but I don't like it at all.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. It doesn't happen too often, but I do have a couple clients that have a very vastly different idea than what I like. But as a designer, I can appreciate all types of design, even though that's not what I would want my house to look like. And I understand how to put that design together.
Nice.
So I can just kind of break it down into manageable chunks, like, well, this type of design, we'll use maximalism for an example, because that's not me personally, right?
You're gonna have to.
Define that.
Yeah, darn it. I could have looked smarter if I'd have just waited to let you ask the question. You know what I mean? I had to throw it out there first. Now everyone knows I don't necessarily know what that means.
I interrupt too much.
I could have waited. I know you could have just not done it, and then it would have only been me. Maximalism. What are we talking
Well,
about?
the opposite of minimalism.
Right.
So maximalism design is lots of stuff.
That's what I was kind of imagining.
Yep, kind of lots of colors, lots of pictures on the wall, lots of textures, lots of fabrics, lots of chairs and ottomans and tables and lamps and lots of stuff.
Why does everything have to be pushed between two extremes? Why can't we just meet in the middle on so many more things? Because you got the minimalists and you got the maximalists, and they're always fighting each other. And in the middle is just like a nicely designed place, right?
Moderates.
The moderates.
There's a lot of moderates out there.
Yeah,
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, okay, good.
And I like moderate. The maximalist it's harder for me because it's not what I naturally gravitate towards. But if I have a client that likes that, I can still be like, okay, so this is how you would do your living room in that style.
Yeah.
And you would get these things or this color, and maybe you'd do a wall collage, but all your frames would be different. You would go thrift shopping and buy unique old frames and do this and that. So I give them super specific direction on how to pull off that look. And then I can work with people after consults, like hourly. You can buy an hour of design time, and I'm just kind of on standby. So
then that is the next step. Then is they say, okay, we got this, or we're even more confused. Can you stick with us and help us hold our hand a little longer?
Yep.
And then do you go shopping with them, or do you go shopping ever, or do you send them to places?
Every person is different, but typically I would say about 60% of my clients, maybe 50%, I don't know. After our meeting, they can just take the plan and run with it. And sometimes I won't hear from them for like 3 months, and they'll send me a picture and they'll be like, here's what we did. What do you think? And I'll be like,
thanks for the
great.
guidance.
Yeah.
Are they writing this down, or are you writing it down? Are you recording it?
They take all the notes,
I like that side of it.
Yeah.
unless if they pay me to do like a report or something.
Okay.
But that's an extra charge because it takes extra time.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. I do consulting. I like the way you throw it out there because I've done some consulting, and actually, the people who I've consulted for, those have been some of my happiest clients. It's a very straightforward transaction like that. I'll be in there for 2 hours. I'm going to give you all these ideas, and then it's yours. You know, and it's this cost. So they never are mad. They're just happy to write the check and everything. So I like that. But I also think, for people who are wondering, like, wow, $275 for 2 hours, and they're kind of doing the math, like, you do have more time into these things than you've driven over there, you've done research beforehand, you've set up all the stuff, there is some overhead. So, like, to me, that sounds like a bargain in a certain way. It's
along
a value.
with your experience in schooling.
Yeah. It is a bargain, and I know that there's a lot of designers that would push back on my that pricing, but I am more about helping people be happy in their homes than making a ton of money. I could charge more, and I know that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that a good environment is only for people that can afford more.
Sure.
So I've worked really hard on this balance of being able to give a ton of value for a reasonable amount of money without gearing just towards a certain class of people. So I'm trying to keep it very open.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the idea of what something should cost the perceived value, all of that. Like if it's working for you and you're happy doing it and you've got happy clients, then I would say, forget the judgment that anyone might put on what it should be or shouldn't be. That sounds like a very straightforward transaction to me.
I think so. And then because you can once you hire me for those 2 hours, I know you well, I know your house, I know what you're, striving to have your house look like and be, and you can hire me by the hour. We can go shopping. We can spend all day shopping and I'm $100 an hour. So,
Let's go shop.
Let's go shop. That'll be $800. So the price does increase the more you hire me.
Right. But you're opening the door for somebody that only has $275.
Yeah, and they just want to know what do I do with my house?
Right.
Like, where do I even start? And
before we take a little break here, I will say that we've talked about this on other shows, and I really think it's true. And I'm glad we had a designer in because we don't talk like it's not my world either, But I'll tell you, if you're a homeowner, so the way I see that you could potentially fit into the lives of the people that we generally work with is if you're thinking about spending 30, 40, 50 grand on a remodel or more, if it's a bigger project, you could be spending 200, 300, 400,000. Wherever you stand in that, if you really want to set out on a journey and you just want to do it by throwing a dart at a board or whatever and doing it in the dark without any pre-planning, go ahead and do that. But to get information ahead of time and get some idea, because you're going to be running up against so many people with their own ideas, it sounds smart. I think a consultation could be smart for a lot of people, even pre-construction project, just to sort of get their ducks in a row, would be my guess.
I really help people think about how they use their space or how they want to potentially use their new space.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't intentional about their houses, and so I help people think through that. And even for people spending $5,000 on a paint job, like interior painting, to not talk to somebody about the color that you're spending $3,000 to paint your home, the wall, it kind of blows my mind because I'm just a few percentage,
I
agree 100% on that.
I think a lot of people just don't realize that minimal investment up front design can be very, very important.
Right.
Very helpful.
Important.
Well, it's hard to see as a homeowner, especially, and as a professional painter also. Like, I have a hard time seeing it. I had my designer come over when I was trying to pick paint colors, and I picked out some great colors that stood alone fine. But when you're when you're in the bathroom and you're looking down the hall into the other 3 bedrooms, you're like, that's not gonna, oh man, I'm in a kaleidoscope right now, or these colors don't work.
The crayon box threw up all over my house or whatever. What are these weird colors doing together?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. All right, well, let's take a quick little break here in the middle and let our audience collect their thoughts because I know you're sitting through this. No, it's great. We need the break. That's a joke because we need the break. Thank you, everyone.
We will be back to the show after a few quick ads from our valued sponsors. Wonder Woman Construction is a Minneapolis-based, woman-owned residential and commercial construction and electrical company. Lori and her team pride themselves on their commitment to long-term green and sustainable building practices, and they apply their deep understanding of building science to each project they take on. They are dedicated to the complete satisfaction of every client. One more thing that you absolutely cannot miss about Wonder Woman Construction is the fact that every employee loves what they do and truly enjoys working with each other. The best projects are those that are done by happy people, and Wonder Woman Construction is full of happy people. Visit WonderWomanConstruction.com to get started on your happiest project ever. Kinetic Legacy is the company that powers the JoContractor app. Their unique platform blends the good parts of social tech with their one-of-a-kind data organizing system, giving communities large and small a safe, private space to stay connected and to keep information and memories organized. If you and your community have a shared purpose or passion and are looking for a better way to stay connected, contact Kinetic Legacy today at kineticlegacy.us. Find out how groups from contractors to campers, tribal communities, unions, and alumni organizations are finding their way to meaningful new spaces in this increasingly digital world. Again, that's kineticlegacy.us. The JoContractor Show doesn't let just any old company put an ad in the middle of a show this important. They have to pay us. Send us an email if you're certain your business should be featured on our show.
We're back. We're back. Second half here. Melanie Zaelich, our guest. How are you?
Great.
We were just making a little joke. The reason we came in kind of chuckling is because doing podcasts, you didn't know what you were getting into when you did this, really, and then you were maybe saying you were a little nervous. But now it's just a show.
It's
we just sit here and talk. It's just a conversation, right?
Yeah, you guys are easy to talk to.
Good. Well, we mentioned
Easy to talk to.
Well,
not
I just
easy.
have a burning
you have a
question.
question?
Okay, so I was
Yeah.
like picturing, going into this space, and this guy's got like this old ratty chair that he just absolutely loves, and it's gotta stay. And you have to work around this chair. Like, what do you do? Have you run into that before?
Yes.
Good one.
the drama.
Yes, but typically by the end of the consultation, that I don't try and convince anybody of anything. I lay out the facts and I present ideas. But usually a ratty old chair like that type of situation, by the end of our consultation, they will see on the other side what it could be. And usually it doesn't stick around.
What if that ratty old chair is being used by the cat? Do you then say you should keep this chair because this is the one chair the cat's using, and you're going to get a new one and it's going to happen again? Or
I will say,
from experience,
I will say that I'll give you ideas and recommendations, and you can make choices. But that cat chair probably isn't the vibe that you really want. And the only way to get the vibe or the look or the feeling that you want is to replace the cat chair with maybe a cool looking cat tower.
I thought you were going to say replace the cat.
I love cats, so
I really want to get in on this one because you two, you started this off, Mary. You had a good question, so now I get to ask about this. So this is, you said, relatively like kind of an older gentleman with the chair. Is that sort of who you were envisioning?
Yeah, just
sort of the ratty chair. Yeah. So I would say you said that you present them with the facts. So is a fact ever like, well, that's a fucking ugly chair? But I'll keep it. It's your chair. I love it. I can work it into the design. But I just want to present you the facts. That chair is really ugly.
I've been told that I have a very polite way of saying things like that without saying them. So, yeah, it's not my taste of the chair, but so I don't usually say they're, it's ugly or terrible, but
I guess a follow-up to that would be, let's say this person has a spouse, right? Let's say that person has been drinking Busch Light the entire time you're there, and they have to relieve themselves. And do you say to the spouse, like, you need to make that chair have an accident?
Oh, after they leave?
like that chair's gotta, you know how I'm married, so like your spouse can find a way to accident something out of your life so that you kind of don't know if it was like on purpose or not.
Well, typically the one spouse will not need me to tell them to get rid of it because they'll already want to get rid of it.
But they're already engaged in the battle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, hey, do you mind if I tell Gary that you said the chair has to go? I'm like, you tell him whatever. That's fine. So I get thrown under the bus a lot. And that's that's totally fine with me.
Yeah, we all come at this from the viewpoint of a contractor, which is half construction knowledge and half emotional relationship mending stuff with clients.
Oh, yes.
You think it's that much, half and half?
Oh God, it seems like it
For
most of
sure.
the time.
Or more. I don't know.
Well,
A lot of therapy.
That leads right to my next. On this same thread, we'll hopefully go to something different. But, in my marriage, actually having a designer was really good, because it was like, well, I think the room should be blue. I think hey, designer, should the room be blue or should it be green? And then they're like,
wins
it's
this
green.
one?
And we're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, we're not going to.
I think I get
fight
hired
about
a lot for that, to just be that non-biased
Yeah.
third-party person that can come in and is not emotionally attached to anything, the financial, the heirlooms or whatever, and just talk it through. And yeah, I've been told a lot that I'm also a marriage therapist.
Yeah.
I can see
especially
that
with clashing
importance in that
styles.
for sure, because there's all the heirlooms. That's a big deal. I'm like, that's an ugly chair.
That
We
plate
don't
hanging
want
on the
that
wall.
captain's chair. And I'm like, all right, we'll keep the captain's chair in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yes, I can see how important that would be.
I mean,
Yeah, and
are
people
very
that have different
sentimental.
styles, different styles, and I do request that both parties fill out my form, but it's usually one. But then, figuring out what the other one is and just figuring out how to mesh it, where not really compromise, but when they're both present and hearing me talk about this and that, they agree on certain things, and then we can just fine tune it with the style.
You just described therapy. I mean, that's right. I mean, you bring
Yeah.
both people together, you sit down, someone kind of talks through things, and the next thing you know, you have at least some better ability to agree on an outcome.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
Have you ever ran into like a bad hoarding house? Oh, let's hear that.
Can you move? I think we should move these boxes over here.
I should. I will say that I also, when I first started this, I also did home staging.
Okay.
That's when I would really run into more of like a hoarder house, when they have to sell.
Yeah.
People that hire me typically aren't quite at that level, but I had a client just recently whose husband cannot let go of anything. So they have all the heirlooms of all the parents and grandparents, and she's trying to create, a more restful, peaceful house, but has too much in it. So she also told me I was a therapist, because I talked to her and gave her some language around how to help her husband being able to let go of some of these things. And I introduced them, recommended some certain like Netflix documentaries on the minimalist guys, and to help give her some language to help her husband being able to let go of certain things, and mindsets about they've already received full value for this gigantic piece of art that they don't like anymore.
This is like service work. I mean,
Have you ever had an opportunity to let's flip the coin a little bit, to explain to the one spouse that the other spouse keeps the things because eventually they're going to use them? because my wife, I think, would say that, what are you keeping all this stuff for? And I'm like, it's my garage. And I know that metal block that I've saved for 6 years, because I know I'm going to use it in
Make
some way.
some.
I love keeping things that I think have utility,
Yeah.
even though they sit around forever. And I'm like, never did.
And I run into that all the time, and with myself, because I was kind of a keeper. But the truth is, you only need that thing after you get rid of it.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
like a week
So
later,
true.
you're like,
Oh, damn it! You made me get rid of that thing.
never
and
get
now
rid
look,
of anything.
but
never happening
It's
again.
either something that would have been convenient to have. It's usually not like a life or death, and run to your local Ace Hardware on Nicollet and pick up another
38th and Nicollet.
38th and Nicollet.
And
Just
then
run
you're
over
not
there
going to
and
use
pick
it
up.
again.
Yeah. So
I'm totally teasing. And so on the one side, I'm making fun of the fact that we if you're in a relationship with someone's keeping more than the other one wants. That's always going to be the case. And
100%.
Someone's getting rid of things on the sly, and you're like, wait a minute, I know that I put that thing there 6 years ago waiting to get it. And there's only one other person in this house who would move it, and it has to be you. But no, I mean, the hoarder thing, that's more of a psychological issue, or I would say dysfunction, or whatever you want to say, but that borders on the terribly sad side.
It's not a hoarder, it's a keeper.
The keeper. I like that. That's a whole different.
Yeah, and people that hire me, are wanting to be intentional with their house. So they might be in a position where they know that they have too much stuff, and they're like, okay, I want to be intentional, and I know I have to get rid of some of this stuff. And I can help guide them as far as like potential pieces that I would recommend they keep because it fits with their style or the mood that they want to create. But I'm not the decluttering. Like I
ran into one
physically go in and declutter, but there are people that do that, and I can refer those.
Yeah,
people
you should.
To them.
That's a whole nother service.
Yeah.
We should look for. I ran into someone who was doing that for one of my clients, and I was very interested in how helpful it was for those clients that this person was coming in and helping them declutter so much stuff and organize their spaces and
helping them make emotional decisions, because that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
It's all emotional.
We'll keep that on the radar.
I struggled with that. I'm getting a lot better, but I was really poor in my 20s, and I was like, oh,
By
this
choice.
is a value.
Just throwing it in there.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay. But still, like, everything seemed, and I started to like have a job, make money, and I was like, oh, this has value, and that thing has value, and then I ended up collecting all these things, and it was like, I can't get rid of any of it because I'm going to use it, like you said.
I grew up on a farm, so there was always a barn where it was like, oh, that thing over there broke? Don't worry. I got, like there was a place to put everything, and it had been 100 years. You were just curating it for a period of time because it had been there was someone else's museum of stuff that needed to last forever. So that was always my thing, which is, my garage is not a barn. I don't have enough space for the stuff that I keep in
Which
my
helps.
garage. I
Not having enough space is helpful. But I too grew up on a farm, and then now my wife watches Alaska shows.
Oh, yeah.
And in Alaska, it's similar to the farm. You're not going to go to a store. You're not going to go to Nicollet Hardware at 38th and Nicollet because it's too far.
Yeah.
So you just go out to the garage, and so you do save all that crap.
Yeah.
And you
That makes
use
sense.
it sometimes.
Well, and
But
getting rid of-
it makes no sense for me now, though.
No, and
No.
getting rid of things in Alaska. My sister lives up there. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's very expensive because they don't have, like, we have dumps all over the place and trucks that run around the cities, and you can just throw things in a bin and be done with it. But they don't have that, so it's more expensive and more difficult. Yeah, Merrick. you were saying-
Tangent.
Yeah, well, it's that time. It's that time. I mean, I think the whole show has been a tangent.
I know. I was just curious if you'd share about your life. Do you have kids?
Yeah,
do
that's
you
right.
like to do things?
Yeah.
I like to do things. And
Done. Show's over.
I like to do things. I'm married for about 14 years now, and I have a 9-year-old daughter. Her last day of school was today.
Oh, great.
And I've been in business. I've had this business for 7 years. It was actually 7 years ago this month that I quit my big job and plunged into, let's start a business. And
Never happier, I hope.
yeah, well, yes, never happier.
Good.
Don't regret it whatsoever. It came with different challenges than I was expecting.
Of course.
Always.
And I think the biggest challenge that I wasn't expecting was because I own this business and my clients are, like, they're my people, I feel so much responsibility for them, and that it kind of just becomes stressful. I mean, anytime,
Totally.
because when you're working at a company, there's other people that take care of that client. Like, it's not all on you, and you're not, like, personally invested. I'm personally invested in all my clients, and I just want people to be happy in their space. And so I take a lot of that on. So
I think we've all done it.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I live in South Minneapolis, so I'm not far from here, and
Where you at?
by
Roughly.
Diamond Lake,
Okay.
the
Yeah,
little unknown lake of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I'm right over by Nokomis, so just down
Yeah.
the road. Yep.
Yep. And we're building a lake place. We have a lake place up north. We're building.
Where at?
We're actually doing a modular home. It's a modular build,
Yep.
which is very, very cool.
Whereabouts?
It's in Battle Lake, so it's kind of Fergus Falls, north of
My
Alexandria.
wife's family's in Battle Lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Great
totally.
town.
Yeah, totally.
Love it.
That's they've been there for like 150 years. They're the Hatch family, but anyway, that's cool.
Love it. That's where we got married, and
No kidding.
yeah.
And what do you do for fun or on downtime? Or are you just always working?
Oh, I have managed the work-life balance, but yeah, we like to go up to the lake. We like to see music. We go to a lot of the breweries, just a lot of Minneapolis stuff, run the trails, do a marathon here or there, run around the lake.
That sounds like Minnesota living.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And 9-year-old daughter. Oh, man.
She's a gem. Challenging little gem. Love her to death. Yeah,
They
she's
don't
great.
listen to shows. I have a
She wished me good luck this morning. Good luck on your podcast, Mama.
Oh, that's
very
sweet.
sweet.
Yeah, that's very sweet. So, so where did you grow up here in Minnesota?
Yep, I actually grew up in Elk River, which at the time was a tiny town. Now it's like a suburb.
What's
Yeah.
your maiden name?
Oh, dear.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Elk River. My folks are from. Yeah, I like this will show you. I
What's
don't.
your last name?
Well, my maiden name is Thiessen.
Oh,
So
Okay.
I'm Sam Thiessen. When I married my wife, I took her name on account of she's the third daughter to a man who only had daughters. She's the death of the lineage.
you're a
So-
good man. Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
took.
that's our Sam.
Oh, so so to pass that on, yeah. But you're from Elk River. You've
Yeah.
got stuff up in Battle Lake. You're living in South Minneapolis. That's funny. Yeah. What? Just out of curiosity, this will show you how little research we do when guests come.
Well,
on the show.
I grew up by the new courthouse
Oh yeah.
off 10, which is not new anymore because it's like 40 years old or whatnot.
Yeah.
My maiden name is Reichel,
Reichel. No.
and I have an older sister.
And what year did you graduate, if you don't mind my asking?
1992. What year did you?
93. And my older brother, Chris Thiessen, was a super smart guy in school. You'd have been in there
What-
around that time.
What year did he graduate?
90 or 91.
Oh, my sister graduated in 89. So, did you go to soccer, Vandenberg?
Oh, no, he was 89, actually.
You went to Vandenberg, right?
I was sock.
I was sock too.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, there's going to be a
Small
connection
world.
here soon.
Oh, man. I bet we know people who know each other.
We do know people. I'm sure that we do.
I don't remember your last name, and I don't know that. I don't have any recollection of us knowing each other as kids.
See, because you're THEIS.
IESSEN.
Oh, you don't know, because I knew Tyson's, not Thiessen. I feel
Okay.
like a Tyson, but
Yeah, I knew some of the people from your grade, of course.
oh, I'm sure.
Like Kent Wise and
Oh yes, Kent.
See, I told you.
and Chuck Scherber
Yep.
and that group and
Oh wow. Mhm.
yep. But
Names I haven't
and
heard in a
Tony
long-
Mansfield. I knew the Mansfields.
Oh my
fairly well.
gosh, yeah, Tony. He was tall.
Yep, big dude. That's funny. Elk River. Yeah. Oh man.
He had the blonde hockey hair going and shaved on
little
the side.
rednecky up there.
Yep,
you
yep.
know, love that place.
Yep.
And now you're doing interior design and decorating. Not so much the design. Is it more fair to say?
I call it interior design consulting. I want to be very respectful of the interior designers that do the conventional way of interior design, and I'm not like licensed, and I don't focus like I wouldn't. If somebody comes to me and wants like a big kitchen remodel, like a gut and redo, I have designers that I refer that client out to.
I wish
Like,
I wish there was a way that they differentiated those things that made
Yeah.
it easier for people to understand, because I don't think either
Right.
side really wants to take anything away from.
No, but
Yeah.
because when interior designer is such a broad term,
Right.
and they all can be so specific that it is confusing. It's confusing to me, so I'm sure like homeowners are
Totally.
confused.
And I don't think there's a lot of people that do specifically what I mean, there's a lot of home decorators,
Right.
but I feel like I go a little further than just fluffing pillows and art. Like I go into design, but I just don't do it for you.
Right.
I guide you and
Yeah.
I walk you through the process. I can help set expectations. What can you expect if you work with a remodeling company or a contractor? How much is your master bathroom redo going to be?
And do you know the
Because
answer
it
to
won't be
that?
$20,000.
Right. Do you know generally the answer to those things? Are you pretty good at gauging?
I am, but COVID changed a lot of things.
Things got more
Prices
expensive.
everything's increased. Materials,
lot.
labor, So my ballpark numbers are probably a little off, but I'm very in tune of listening to contractors, because I know, a primary bathroom could be $80,000 to $90,000 easily.
Right.
And people are thinking it's 30.
Right.
Like, ooh.
I always like to frame it for people just to help them understand that, like, the most important rooms in your house are going to be the most expensive, right? So if you look at your living room, if you took everything out of your living room, there's nothing going on in there but the floors, the walls.
Totally, yeah.
And maybe a
Yep.
fireplace or something like that. So that's 1 to 3% of the value of your house if you were to completely redo it or something.
Yeah. Smart.
Whereas a kitchen, you've got everything going on in there. And that should be like 25% of the value of your house. So if your house used to be worth $250,000 and now it's worth $400,000, 25% of that is $100,000 roughly
Yeah,
to redo that
makes
kitchen.
sense.
Yep.
Yep.
And it does fall apart, because if you actually add up the total of all of the components, it's over 100%. You can't rebuild your house for the same cost
No.
that it is.
Yeah,
it's just not possible. So
I was thinking about that today, just thinking about how expensive all this stuff that's going into the houses is now, because really it's the supply and the demand and the what it costs to build a house should eventually equal the home value. When you have inflation, it kind of takes time for everything to catch up, but because I was getting these plumbing estimates for my basement, I'm like, this used to cost me $6,000, I'd get the underground and all the piping done.
right.
And now I just spent $5,000 to get all the underground, and somebody wants to charge me $10,000 to do all the above.
Right.
And I'm like, well, now my house should cost $10,000 more.
in a few years.
I don't think those things ever. It's very rare that they line up. Like, the housing market has to be going down and something else has to be going up, and then they end up the same. But like, if you've got if you live in what you perceive to be a $400,000 house, because that's what you've been sort of told for a while or whatever, and you're insuring it for $400,000, like, believe me, if it were gone tomorrow, you'd never get it replaced for $400,000. That's
No.
just not the way it works.
No.
So, just for your information, I guess.
Yeah, I just tell my clients that if you're going to do this right now and you want to sell it tomorrow, you're not going to get it back.
No.
It's
Yep.
going to take a few years.
Yep.
But if you're sticking around, do it. Make it your happy place.
Yep. And one of the questions I ask on my form is, what is your approximate budget for renovations? And what is your approximate budget for furnishings? Because they should be separate. And it's just interesting, because then I have check a box, between this and that, this and that. And that will help me know how I have to have this conversation. If they're like, I want a new kitchen, but my renovation budget is $10,000. Or I want to refurnish my whole house, but my furnishings budget is $4,000.
Right.
You can't do that.
It's just not going to happen.
So here are your alternatives. If that is truly your budget, then this is this is how you can put $10,000 into your kitchen and make it better.
Right. Yeah.
But-
Your cabinets or
Well, you better start learning to make couches if you think you got $4,000 and you're gonna
And furnish a whole house.
Yeah, like,
right.
better start building things out of beer crates. Like
Or
we
go to
used
Marketplace.
right. I mean, Marketplace is. Just,
You can get some deals on it.
I've got all
Like,
this
for sure.
beautiful old wooden furniture that would cost
Yeah.
that would have cost thousands of dollars to furnish my house, but it's like people just like, I don't want this old wooden thing. I'm like, oh my God, that's a treasure.
Honestly, they're giving things away for free or cheap. I have a credenza, and I was like, I moved it to a new spot, and my wife is like, get rid of that thing. It's so ugly. So I cleaned it, put it in a different spot, and I saw a name brand on it, and I'm like, huh. So I look it up, and I'm like, this is worth $9,000. This little piece of furniture that I got for free that you don't like.
Wow.
Credenza, is it near the Davenport?
It's a
credenza? I don't
mid-century
even know.
modern credenza. It's got the roll-up thing. Isn't that a credenza? I don't know.
Oh,
Yes.
like a roll-top desk?
Well, it's not a desk.
Oh.
It's a flat piece, and you open the thing, the drawers, and there's drawers and doors, and then there's a roll thing that pull out, drawers come out.
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
It's with a spindly leg, so mid-modern.
yeah. Oh, for
And
sure.
worth some dough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
I know. It's
No, I mean,
staying.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever like, if people have a budget, do you recommend Marketplace? Do you kind of say like, look for these
Oh,
kinds
absolutely.
of things?
I'm not tied to any particular furniture brand or store or anything. So it doesn't matter to me what your budget is.
Yeah.
But again, I'll tell you color, style. So if your budget is Marketplace or Target, that's great.
That's very valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, because you could spend, rather than spending, $10,000 to refurnish your house, you could do it a lot cheaper than they could afford to have somebody to pick the good, like what it should look
I mean,
like.
I would hope people know that Craigslist and Marketplace and things like that exist, but yeah, it is.
Some of that new stuff is so crappy too.
Oh, it's so poorly built.
It's not even framed. If you've had a chair, that a new couch that I got with an armrest that was broke. It broke really easy, and it was new, and I put some money into it, but it shouldn't have broke. But I still use it. We're gonna. Oh no, we got rid of it. We did get rid of it.
I mean,
But that was the
Marketplace-
new couch that we got rid of.
Yeah.
Marketplace can be great. I mean, if I tell you what size and color to look at,
Would narrow it down a lot.
yeah, then you
Totally.
kind of know what you're looking for.
Right.
So
It would
then you
be
can
so
just,
helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the cheap furniture that we've bought for like the basement for the kids and stuff, it's all destroyed in a year or two. It's just, not built to last. But
So in all honesty, let's go back to the cat chair because
I was already back there somehow.
I love it. I'll play this game again.
here's my question. We've got a chair. It's a nice
Recliner?
recliner. There we go. But it's a hand recliner, nothing mechanical, so light enough to move around. And it's fairly new. Again, probably not well built, but it's lasting. Other than we're in this discussion on my wife wants to get rid of the chair and get a new one. I'm like, well, the same thing will happen. Why don't we just get it reupholstered? Because it's a fairly decent piece of furniture. I hate filling the landfills, right?
Yeah. So do I.
And it's
Yeah.
not, I don't want to get a great big cumbersome. If you saw our house, we don't need big. And so I'm like, this is a perfect chair. Why don't we just reupholster it? Even though that's expensive, it's still not throwing it in the dump. So my question is, who wins on this one?
Well, I guess I would.
It's the only chair that cats
Can
use.
you fix
Okay.
this for Lori?
Well, I always tell people that reupholstering, I love that idea because, yes, it keeps it out of the landfill and whatnot, but it does cost as much
Yeah, it
as a new
does.
chair.
Yeah.
So, and if you suggested reupholstering it, then that kind of tells me that maybe it's the color or pattern your wife doesn't like versus like the chair itself.
The wear and
'Cause-
tear on it? Or?
Well, she probably wants an electric one. I don't know.
So I guess I would try and find out what it is about that particular chair that she doesn't
That's a good
like.
question.
And then I would say, then I would ask you, okay, I know that this is the only chair that your cats currently use. are they, or a cat, do they like towers? Are you in a position where you can put like one of those kind of cool things that stick on a window? Are you in a position to not have a chair, but maybe a cute like ottoman that the cat can sit on that doesn't take as much room? So I mean, I just ask tons of questions to get to like the meat, and then
Good questions.
then I would present my best
Can we make the cat
recommendation.
happy in another
Bill
way?
her? You should really bill her for this. This is-
Here, I think we may have stopped. Yeah, you're right. Oh my God.
Invited you in for a free session.
This is brilliant, you guys.
Thrift. I like it.
No, it's probably way more than that. So, yeah, it's a lot of those. But I think the dogs have trained the cats to not do it now, because all we have to do is yell and the dogs will chase the cats. So it's not happening as much, and we have a tower and they use it. But I guess they're just spoiled cats, you know. Here, have a chair. Have an
Well, and part of
expensive
it's
chair.
like-
Is there a
if-
cat
if-
that isn't spoiled?
Oh, my
I don't know.
dog loves bossing the cat around.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
it's a bad cat.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. We've got the dogs trained now, so I
Yeah.
think maybe we could alleviate this situation for future. But
Well, and if the cats are the only one who uses the chair, then why do you need the chair?
it's her chair, my wife's chair.
Oh, I thought she wanted to get
Nobody
rid of it.
can sit in it but her. She always has her chair.
Oh, I thought she's the one who
no,
wanted
she doesn't. But she wants a new one.
Oh, she wants a new one.
I
Yeah.
like Tammy more and more. every bit I find out, I like
See,
her
this
more and more.
shows how complex your job is.
I
We have
know.
pets, we have relationships, we
Yeah.
have. Then
I
the
dig
chair
right
needs
in.
to match the motif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you-
she probably wants one that functions a little better for her.
I
Like
think she
maybe
would.
it's some, And then I would ask, well,
She wants a
does
cup
she-
holder, probably, and
like what? I mean, does she have? I don't know, arthritis? Is it hard to?
No.
To,
No,
I don't
like-
know.
No, I'm not gonna say.
But
No, she
I try
just
and get to
likes
the
her
root.
chair.
Chair.
And she probably does want it to be electric with a cup holder. She's showed
Okay,
me
yeah.
things like this. Now that we're talking about this.
Big leather, black leather with
Yeah,
the.
and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can totally see
She's
it.
gonna get home tonight. So I was listening to your podcast.
She doesn't usually listen.
Well, and whatever. I mean, it doesn't actually. We have to produce
Yeah.
it and put it out. So
I know,
you're
I just-
safe. I'm just
It
letting
doesn't
Lori know you're safe for 3 or 4 days before you get yourself in trouble. You're good. Take it easy on her. All right. Before we wrap this up, I want to say. I just want to point out, if you're a homeowner and you're listening to this, if you're thinking about a big project, I don't know for sure who you start with. I always say, talk to a contractor. Start there. I think a person could come to you, Melanie,
Absolutely.
and get for not a lot of money, get a start so that you're a little better educated when you start talking to the real sharks, not sharks, but the real people who want to take your money and have opinions about things. Maybe you go in having some opinions that were given to you by someone who's just leading you down the path that you kind of need to go down.
Yep.
I
Very
think that's fair.
valuable.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think so. I like that aspect of it. So,
Yep.
so I feel like we did a service to you, the listener, and you should do us a service and subscribe, Mom. And
Subscribe to our newsletter.
Yep.
no, I think that's good. So how would a person go about finding your particular business?
Online,
Yep.
www.happyplaceinteriors.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Got to be on the socials,
Yep.
Happy Place Interiors. That's here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And I work all within the Twin Cities. I trip charge possibly for going out as far as Elk River. Trip charge.
I don't
for-
like going past Elk
I
River
know.
either.
But I've also been hired up people in Bemidji. There's kind of a day rate. I've also helped people nationally.
Yeah.
Zoom calls. There's a lot I can do.
great.
COVID taught me how to do that really well.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I think there is a market out there and a need for people with better design sense and even building skills to do work on people's vacation homes. I'm always trying to
Yep.
push the fact that, no offense to the people up north, I'm not trying to say that, but I'm saying there are certain things that that are, we do really, really well down here. And I'm always like, well, I'll come do tile up on your lake cabin if you want. If you've got this super complex tile, it's very expensive, and you're not you're worried about
Yep.
this thing, don't hesitate to reach out. So you'll do that kind of stuff
Yep.
too. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. COVID helped us reimagine and redo how we do things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it sure did.
I'll put your info on the newsletter when we release this.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go.
Thank you.
So then they can.
And likewise, I will have a link to the podcast on my website.
Oh,
I
Great.
expect thousands
Absolutely.
of new subscribers from the Elk River area, being that we graduated a year apart from the
Exactly.
same school. So,
Come on,
Yes.
Elk River.
go Elks! Oh, the enthusiasm.
And the big elk in the lunchroom.
I know.
Oh, no.
It's true. It's true.
Stuffed
Behind
elk.
glass. Yep.
Oh, no.
Yep. Good old Elk River. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. And Melanie, thanks a lot for coming in.
Thanks a lot for having me. It
Thanks,
was great.
Melanie.
Thank you so much for listening to another amazing episode of the most important show out there. Before we go, we want to thank you again for supporting us and for all the lovely things you say about us on social media. Shows like this grow with help from people like you. And remember, keep sending us your questions. We really appreciate the stories and the great insights we gain from our audience. We also want to remind you that you can buy shirts, hats, and more at JoContractorShow.com. Be good to each other, and we'll catch you on the next show.